for joining us. We just saw Millennium beat the Super Hot Crew, and we're going to discuss this at the table with Trevor and Lee. So guys, coming into this one, rather unexpectedly, Millennium just building up the lead straight from the beginning and running with it, and it didn't seem like they were going to lose the game in any point.
No, and actually, in fact, if you actually look at the game, it was very, very similar to Fnatic. In fact, I wonder whether these guys have been scrimming together because the picks were fairly similar. The game style was very similar, and all along, and we just heard Creton talking about how it was a pick comp, and it absolutely was, because you saw Kerp constantly using that ulti, catching someone out. Often it was Mr. Rales, the AD carry was there, very similar to Peke and Reckless, the double teamwork. So it really did work very well for Millennium this time around. Surprised quite a lot of us, and probably Super Hot Crew involved as well.
Yeah, definitely caught me off guard. Kerp's Twisted Fate was very, very good. But Kerp definitely seems to play that he either destroys everyone or he does a bit mediocre. And you basically explained the whole tempo of the game. Kerp found picks. We have a replay to actually exemplify that. If we can pull that replay up onto your screen. And it's going to start with one of these Twisted Fate ganks. 4-7 up, completely even on gold. Millennium are actually down on towers at this point in the game. At 28 minutes, Super Hot Crew have held them off, considering Millennium was in control. So let's roll this clip out, and it really does just start with Millennium focusing down Mr. Rawls. Instantly going to pop him, gold card lands, wild cards are going to finish him off. And because of the grouping of Millennium, they're going to run away with the rest of the fight. Jerry gets a pretty good solar flare, and you know, props to Cottonex as well, landing the key skill shots. Jax was a non-factor. You know, 30 minutes in, he's only got a Blade of the Ruined King and a Phage, and you've got to give props to Creton here. Swag points, flash, ardent blaze, walks out. Cool
Already walking away. Yeah.
Cool guys don't look at explosions. So he gets 4 kills, the team backs away, they get Baron, and then it was just, again, 2 more of those sort of pick situations, and Millennium closed the game out.
Let's talk a little bit more about the pick comp, and in particular Twisted Fate. Twice today we saw Twisted Fate played by Fnatic a little earlier in the season. That didn't work out. Why does it work now? What has changed in your opinions?
Well, the game in the mid lane has changed somewhat over the recent months. Assassins are less prevalent thanks to the changes to exhaust and the changes to heal. We're not seeing much LeBlanc because she's banned all the time. Zed's not in the pool anymore. And those poking champions like Ziggs are so often on the bench, are so often removed away. So when you have this mid lane matchup where Twisted Fate has time to build himself up, he's got good wave clear, he's got good burst, he mitigates the stealth champions which are super popular like Evelynn, like Twitch. So in this game, Mr. Rolls was never safe because Destiny always made him a pinpoint target. So I think it's just the way the trending champions of Twitch and Eve are up, which means Twisted Fate comes back, and also because the mid lane can't counter him as hard.
And you got to wonder, obviously, the players, Twisted Fate, we've seen it quite a few times actually coming up in the last few weeks, but actually not very well. Yeah. Seems that teams suddenly have remembered, this is how you play Twisted Fate, you need to pick people off. So suddenly, obviously everyone's had a lot more experience on it, a lot more practice in team fights, and it's working a lot better now.
Let's theorize a little bit about what this means for both the Super Hot Crew and Millennium. I asked Creton, you know, what was going on, and he said it seemed that after we were winning, we were playing too safe. How do you think that this will go further in the season if you look at their play right now?
I think Millennium are only winning games when they play pick-style compositions. You go back to 2 weeks ago when Kerp destroyed people on Fizz. It's a pick composition. Kevin is only playing Irelia at the moment. He's not super comfortable in Shyvana. He said so last week in an interview. What this means for Millennium, they need to diversify. They can't rely on pick comps only to find wins. It's working now. It might not in a few weeks when the meta changes or shifts away. For Super Hot Crew, they just need to not panic. They were 30 minutes in. They had under onslaught of Kerp's Twisted Fate, and they were even on gold. They were ahead on towers. So they weren't doing badly, even under all of that pressure.
Yeah, and they actually had a great late team composition as well, of course, with the KL Jacks in there. They would have done really well. That's exactly what they were aiming to do, just hold out. And you kind of, again, you look at SK. SK were trying to do the similar thing, but you know, credit to Kerp diving with that ulti onto the tower to create the whole play, to set the game up.
Yeah, and on the other side, the Super Hot Crew, of course, they were getting so hyped and doing so well. Is this just a 2-off, those 2 games they lost now in a row?
I don't know, because you know, even in the games, like against the Lions, they were completely outclassed. Super Hot Crew really got destroyed. I mean, there's nothing about that. Against Millennium played better, but it's hard to say whether or not was Super Hot Crew losing or Millennium just outplaying them. So it's not panic stations yet. They're still middle of the table. It's not the end of the road yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great team play from Millennium. And actually, at the start of today's show, we asked you to hit us up on Twitter to let us know which European LCS team do you think has shown the most consistent teamwork so far and why. The first tweet is from @MertRusso. I have to say to Super Hot Crew, when the game gets super late, the team's coordination is the difference between victory and defeat. Sadly, they didn't get to the super late game here.
This almost would have been right. And actually, to be fair, they have been great at the start of the season. They're now actually tied for third place with Fnatic and Millennium, I believe. They're all on 5 and 4. So, you know, it has been a great start to the season for Super Hot Crew. They did look very good at the start. They've got to make sure they don't slip into a run.
They had an extremely long game that they finished successfully as well last time, of course. The second tweet is from @Harakos. I think SK is currently showing the best teamwork. The synergy between Svenskeren and the rest of the team is outstanding. And I dare say, even in the loss today, they kept putting up good team fights in the endgame.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think SK as a team, that's their biggest strength. They have struggled in the laning phase. They have struggled a little bit in the individual matchups from time to time. And today's game demonstrates that. They fell behind in the laning phase, and Fnatic just punished them for it.
The last tweet is from @IGCreedster. Alliance for sure. Their team synergy has reached a new level this split, which made the whole team, but mostly Tabzz, more confident. We're about to see them in action.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Alliance have been magnificent at the start of this season. 7 and 1. We talked about how in this pre-show how this is the deadliness time for any team that reaches 7 and 1 generally goes downhill from here.
Don't jinx.
So they're playing Gambit next. It's a tricky game. You never know what Gambit's going to turn up like. But honestly, Alliance have by far looked the best team by a mile in Europe right now.
That was also Gambit that broke Fnatic's winning streak.
It was,
Let's split around, so maybe. I don't want to jinx it for Alliance. Thank you for those tweets, and we're always ready for more. Be sure to follow us @LOL Esports, and of course use the hashtag LCS for your game day chatter. And now we're going to send it back over to Joe and the Fisho at the desk.
Thank you very much, guys. Now, let's get ready for our last LCS match of the day as Alliance take on Gambit. Alliance, of course, continued the domination of the European LCS last week. They managed another 2 wins and currently sit, as Demon said, a very, very impressive 7 wins and 1 loss.
And also their individual stats as a team is very impressive. If you just look at the KDAs all around for them, they have the highest team KDA in Europe, with 6.36. Then we have Tabzz, Froggen, and Shook. They're all first in their role for KDA. Followed then by Wickd and Nyph, who are second in their role when it comes to KDA. They are the best team at taking down Barons, where they're taking 11 Barons. They of course lead the entire league in it. And also when it comes to taking down buildings, 74 towers, 16 inhibs here. Alliance are looking very, very strong and also looking very consistent as a team. That's why they can keep these numbers going every time. That's why they've won 7 games and only lost 1. And then I just have to say, last 2 Alliance games, we have seen Anivia from Froggen, and I'm wondering, do you have to ban away or not? Because teams clearly don't know how to deal with it. We don't see a lot of aggression on the blue buff of Alliance when they play Anivia to try and at least remove the blue buff from Froggen here, because he will always do well on this champion, and we know how strong he is. Do you want to ban away or not?
And speaking of Froggen, let's see what he thinks about the current state of the once dominant Gambit gaming.
Yeah, there's not too much rivalry. It's more like Gambit struggling to get back to their former self. This is a really strong team that played with aggression. Like, they're struggling to get back to that point, and I think like before they have any rivals, they would like kind of need to get back to that point.
And I think Froggen really hit the nail on the head with that one. Gambit are struggling to find their former selves. And while they look good in some games, it's really hard to predict which Gambit is going to turn up to which match. And they are the most inconsistent team in the league right now. There's no doubt about that.
Complete opposite of Alliance here. We always know how Alliance are going to perform, or at least we think we know. With Gambit, you never want to try and actually say, are they going to win this game or not? Because even when they actually were one of the strongest teams, if not the strongest team in Europe, they had these off days where they just lose a random game, doesn't matter to who, and then come back the next day and destroy everyone. So Gambit as a team, very inconsistent, and you can also look at the KDA numbers for the team. I mean, we talk about how Alliance were #1 in pretty much everything. Gambit is the opposite. I mean, Diamond is the lowest jungler, Darien is the lowest top laner. Only Genja is actually keeping up fairly well with the rest of the league when it comes to KDA, but it's also because he plays very safe.
And I think we're also far enough into the season now to look at Nyph's performance and compare it to their former mid laner, Aleksei. The question is, does Nyph have the same impact on Gambit as Alex did?
different players, in my opinion, and different ways they're being used by Gambit. If you just look at the numbers for Nick here the first 3 weeks, his KDA is fairly low, actually lowest for mid laners in Europe. However, his kill participation is very high. So he's involved in a lot of the kills here for Gambit. Looking at Alex, however, go back to last bit, the first 3 weeks here. Numbers speaks for themselves. 42 kills to 21 deaths, a 4.0 KDA. Only part of 65% of the kills for Gambit, so he's involved in less. However, he makes plays himself. And we always saw how Alex could take the entire team on his back, get a few kills early on, and carry everyone. Nick haven't been able to do the same, so instead they play more teamfight focused. And you know what? I think it's the right way to play it, because for me, Nick is a good mid laner, and I think he has the potential to be on the same level as Alex. And we just have to see if he can do it with time. And now, of course, we've talked so much about KDA, difference between Gambit and Alliance. It is Gambit, so we never know what's going to happen, and they can actually still surprise and win the game.
As we said, never know which Gambit turns up to which games. We'll see which one comes in today, but first, we're going to check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it's Alliance with Wickd in the top lane, Shook in the jungle, Froggen in the mid lane, Tabzz the AD carry, and Nyph the support.
On the red side, we have Gambit Gaming with Darien in the top lane, Diamond as the jungler, Nick is in the mid lane, Genja, of course, as the AD carry, and Eduard on support.
And our featured matchup takes us into the jungle, where Shook and Diamond are going to be facing off.
Yeah, so Diamond, he was the best jungler in Europe, looking back at Season 2. Even early Season 3, he was dominating everyone. Now, though, he's building synergy with Nick, so for now, a bit of issues for Gambit and Diamond, who's been underperforming. Looking on the side of Shook, though, he's considered to be the best jungler by many now in Europe. He's really performing and really living up to the hype everyone talked about last split, and everyone talked about how he's so good in scrims, he needs to do an LCS, he's doing it now.
So before the match begins, let's total up the votes and see which team you picked to win. According to LOLesports.com, you've picked Alliance by a pretty whopping 81%.
We have to agree, #1 team here, very consistent, always performing well against Gambit, which, as we talked about, we don't really know what's going to happen when Gambit plays.
Don't know which Gambit turns up. And one thing that interests me with the addition now of a new support, Eduard, you know, he likes to play different things as support. Kennen as support. Gragas has been playing a lot, of course, this split. Is Brown going to get banned away?
There's a chance at least, but I know Eduard would love to play it. I haven't actually talked with him about it, but just if you look at the style of champions he likes to play, Gragas, of course, very, very tanky.
Yeah.
Braum is doing the exact same thing here. Set up kills, help your teammates out, of course. So it should be his style of champion, and therefore, if it's open, I can see him pick it.
Well, we are going to get into Champion Select and see if Brown will make it through here for the first time today.
Yeah.
If Brown gets picked, I'm going to wear a mustache tomorrow. Shave the rest of the beard off and wear the
deal.
brown tash. We'll see about that one. First ban's coming out either way. Yasuo and Ziggs banned away by Alliance. On the other side, it's Kassadin taken away by Gambit. Who would have thought it? Red side Kassadin banned.
Stand-up bans so far. Nick played actually a very strong Yasuo game here. I believe it was week 2. Therefore being banned away from Alliance, and also Ziggs banned towards him. So they really want to target Nick, who's still the new guy on Gambit, of course, and want to see, okay, what else can he actually play than just his few main champions.
So Twitch going to be taken out by Gambit Gaming, and I can already feel my mustache growing in preparation for this one. Shouldn't have said that. I don't know why I said that. Such an idiot sometimes. Third ban then for Alliance. What are they going to go with? 2 mid lane bans so far, leaving that Gragas open up until now, leaving the likes of Kale up for Nick, who is really like to play, and they're actually going to go towards Darien here for their third and final ban, taking away Jax.
Wickd has played a lot of Shyvana in the past year. Actually, only once did he take Jax over Shyvana, so they feel like can band away, target towards Darien. I'm not sure if they're going to first pick Shyvana here, want to focus on the likes of a Lee Sin, possibly, or maybe even a mid lane pick now to ban 2 of them away from Nick already.
Well, let's see. Not long left here. What is going to be the
Leave
choice
it open
for Gambit Gaming? They are, wow, really running down the clock on this one. Taking away Brown. Thank God for that.
Very, very last one. They really had to think about this one here. You could see there's like, oh, should we leave it open? Do we want to maybe get it if they first pick something else? But it's the Lee Sin, first pick for Shook. It's actually been a champion last week, which was banned against him because he's been performing so well on this Lee Sin here. And also the reason Alliance just instantly first pick it. Don't even think about it.
Got to think about taking away the Thresh as well, the combos that we've seen, not just this split, last split as well, between Shook and Nyph kicking into the hooks and the flays. Such brilliant, brilliant play from Alliance, which I suppose we could really say across the board with everything. We also had the Anivia question, by the way, answered. Anivia left open here if Froggen would want to take it. What a Gambit got up their sleeves. A Blitzcrank in the first round of picks
was
would
buffed.
Be,
I mean, but
yeah, but first round of picks?
No, yeah.
I don't expect that to happen.
Normally a pick you want to wait to see a bit more of the enemy team before you want to lock it in. It's actually a very strong pick against Anivia, so in that case we might see it later if Froggen locks in Anivia.
Well, we'll see. It's going to be a switch here last second to Evelyn for Diamond in the jungle. As we've mentioned, Lee Sin, Evelyn, Elise, pretty much the three junglers that we're going to be seeing now. Who knows with Yorick if Woolite's, not Woolite, that would be wrong. Airwax is feeling like it for the Copenhagen Wolves. On the other side though, what are Alliance going to lock in now? Jungler already decided for them. And will Froggen be thinking about taking a Kayle here? Gambit of course can leave their mid lane until last, so Alliance may be looking for something safe in that mid lane. And
I feel like also on the side of Gambit, they played it very safe on the first two picks. Lucian, we always talk about all around, very strong, you can blind pick him. And then the Evelyn, I mean, you didn't have to lock in your jungler at this point because Lee Sin was already picked here. So you could have gone for, you know, a very strong pick for either your support. Now, of course, Nyph, hoping over the fresh here, decided not to lock it in. So instead, the Evelyn to me showed that Gambit want to try and counter pick the rest of Alliance here, or at least the next two picks from Alliance.
Well, definitely run it down. I talked about the Thresh earlier on, the combos that we've seen out of Shook.
This pure comfort picks for Alliance.
Yeah, I mean, Shyvana for the top lane for Wickd, getting the Thresh as well, so those two picks now locked in. Interesting to see where Gambit go, whether they leave that mid laner until last, which you've got to expect from them at this point of things.
Yeah, either mid lane or top lane. We could see the Gragas coming in from Eduard, of course. We've seen in laning phase, it's very, very strong. He plays very aggressive with it.
Yeah.
Needs to be careful though, because when he's against a Lantern, it's very easy to set up a gank towards him. We actually saw it last week where he got punished, died a few times for it, but he plays very aggressive in the laning phase and often actually win the lane with Genja when he plays the Gragas support here. So it could be an option for him when it comes to top lane and mid lane. I mean, Trundle for Darien, Renekton if they want to go for some early pressure against Shyvana. Of course, it is Darien. Could even see a Warwick.
I wish.
You wish.
I would be incredibly happy if he was to pull out the Warwick. And for Gambit here, hovering over Kayle. Said it before that Nick really played a lot of Kayle, a lot of Lulu in there as well. But looks like it will in fact be a Kayle choice this round. And Sona, also an interesting choice coming out for Eduard.
Yeah, it was a champion he actually used to play quite a lot, but he always said he hated playing her. She was very boring, didn't really fit his style. However, when you put it together with a Kayle, most likely building Hurricane, if you log up 1-2 members with your ulti from Sona here, a lot of free time for Kayle to just auto-attack them to death. So very, very strong team fight already from Gambit's side here. And if they can lock people down with the Sona ulti, land, of course, the Evelyn's ulti on it as well, and then all the Kayle damage and the AoE coming in from the likes of Lucian, it's a very, very strong start to a team fight from Gambit.
On the other side then, Alliance looking for AD carry and mid laner. All Froggen brings to the table up against the Kayle. And this combo that's worked out for them, Kog'Maw and Anivia. We have to go back to that. The Kog'Maw and Anivia was
could
very,
go Lulu
very
as well.
good for them.
I mean, Lulu could also be a choice. It seems to be the Anivia, and it's gonna get locked in from Alliance. So we see it once again. And I want to see if Gambit then know how to play against it, because so far, the two teams who played against Froggen on Anivia didn't know how to shut him down early on. They didn't focus on trying to take away his blue buff when it spawned here, trying to deny some of his farm in the laning phase, put a lot of ganks on him. No, they just let him farm and get to the team fights where, of course, he is so strong on Anivia, and he can now protect Tabzz with Nyph as well. You have Shook and Wickd jumping into the backline of Gambit, and then you just have, again, the rest of the members staying back here. You have the wall, you have all the slows, you have the stunts. Anivia brings so many things to the table that when we actually upstairs yesterday were looking at some of the comps here, we realized that Anivia, as a champion, can do pretty much everything. You have wave clear, you have burst potential, you have pick potential with your Q, your wall, you can kite, you can disengage. I mean, there's so many things you can do with this champion.
Darien's got a cheeky little smile on his face there as Eduard
wall.
hovers over.
I like it.
It's not going to be Warwick.
Kayle
it's actually going to be interesting. Again, Kayle going top lane. Didn't touch on that when probably should have, really, because we've seen Darien playing that Kayle top lane. took him a hell of a long time to get going. Actually spent most of his time in the mid lane to avoid the lane swap danger and shared the farming experience with Nyph.
It was a bit of a weird tactic, and also he builds a Fiends first into Nashor's, into Hurricane, so he delays the Nashor and the Hurricane here. So teamfight-wise, he needs a bit more time to build up with their Fiends. But Kayle into Shyvana is actually a very strong pick, because Shyvana will never be able to get onto you. You slow her if she speeds up or jumps towards you. You hit her from range all the time, of course, and you shred away a lot of armor and magic resist. So you do a lot of damage to her, so it's a strong pick in lane, unless Alliance, of course, just say, you know what, we're just going to lane swap around and make sure we're never actually going to have this laning phase, at least not early on.
And Nyph revisiting Nidalee will be hoping for something better than a 0-0-0 that got his season started off here in the summer split. But guys, we're going to revisit our featured matchup on Twitter, where you can let us know which jungler you think will come out ahead. Use the hashtag Shook or Diamond, and we'll check out your answers in the game to see how you voted.
Both junglers, of course, playing comfort picks here. Evelynn from Diamond, seen it time and time again, but also Lee Sin for Shook. I mean, it's been such a game-breaking champion, and every time he plays it, at least in this split, setting up kills left and right in the early game and applying so much pressure here. So I'm really looking forward to see what he can do on Lee Sin in this game.
See that Alliance, I was going to say looking confident, and then Wickd starts to give us a big yawn. Well, it's been staying up a little bit too late.
Didn't cut his hair yet, actually. I made a deal with him. I'm not sure if he's going to follow it, but until Alliance actually lose a game, he won't cut his hair. That's why, as you see on your screen, he looks a little bit funny.
A little bit funny. We're going to get into game, guys. Alliance taking on Gambit. We'll see if Alliance can keep, well, their incredible form up, really. 7 for 1. As the guys over on the analyst desk earlier mentioned, though, Gambit are the crushers of dreams when it comes to winning sprees. Of course, they were the team that stopped Fnatic in the last split. We'll see if they can do it here against Alliance as well.
So we see early on here, no teleport on Froggen this time. He played it last time against Subaru Crew with Anivia. However, that was against the Ziggs in lane, so it was a hard laning phase. Now he's against Nidalee, one of the weakest early game laning champion, so therefore he can pick the Ignite now and actually have a lot of kill potential onto the likes of Nyph. And at the same time, we also see Eduard with the Ruby Crystal actually as first item. So he's going to rush an early side stone, sell his Ward Trinket early on, get the sweeping lens, and then try and get a lot of vision control as the Sonar.
Certainly going to be an interesting one, and Nyph getting the first spear of the game off. Always nice to start that way, even though it gives you, of course, very little in the grand scheme, or gives you nothing in the grand scheme of things. Is probably more accurate.
Confidence boost.
Exactly, the confidence boost that you are 100% with your spears. See if Nyph can keep that record up. Right now, there's a very distinct lack of anyone really moving out of a safe zone right now. A lot of wards down in river, not too much pressure put up, and wards planted a little bit deeper on the enemy side of the river from either side. And we can actually see that we're going to see a standard start for the junglers, both on their red buff. However, Nyph and Tabzz moving up towards the Death Brush. Are they going to try a,
they are spotted,
what for me would be a very risky two-man invade here?
Well, at least for now, they're actually forcing Diamond and Darien away, because down the bottom lane, of course, is Eduard and Genja, and in the mid lane, Nyph just standing with Nidalee, won't be able to do too much. So Alliance actually managed to delay the red buff from Gambit and pick up their own red buff.
Delaying as long as possible. Nyph down to about half HP. He needs to be a little bit careful about this one. Actually going to flay over. There is the red buff taken by Diamond, but a lot of damage will be done to him. Darien falling a little low as well, but look at this. Alliance invading on the enemy blue buff. We see Eduard actually coming across. This is very risky. This is dangerous. They're going to come around with the Ignite there, put down towards Shook. Spear is going to land. Shook going to go down here, surely. AD carry coming in. It's Eduard that picks up the kill, and now they're chasing Wickd. Does have flash available. Will use it as well to get out of the back of the Dragon Pit.
Such a risky play from Alliance. They knew, of course, Diamond and Darien up in his top side were delayed with the red buff. However, they also know that there's both Genja and Eduard in this bottom lane side here to just come up, collapse around them if they move in for the blue buff. So very risky move, and Gambit picks up first blood for it.
Red buff Eduard. who was having a look at the race, like, can I do him red buff? Maybe I'll be able to do it. No, probably not, my friend.
Again,
but
2v1 mid.
Exactly, 2v1 mid. This is exactly what Gambit went for the last time around that they played. I think it was against the Wolves, if memory serves correctly.
Yes, it was. Where they managed to deny a lot of farm, and Darien taking a lot of damage.
Big combo coming out of Froggen there. He's at level 3 already, and Diamond might actually think about giving a little bit of pressure on towards that mid lane here, or not. He's quite content with stealing away enemy camps. Wickd has followed Shook this entire time, and there we go. The tally coming in from Twitter. 81% of you thinking that Shook gonna come out better of this one. Funnily enough, it's Shook, of course, who went down for the first blood here for Gambit.
So now though he's moving with Wickd into the jungle side here of Gambit. They can of course do it because on the top side is 2 members of Alliance. So they have multiple members to join in case a fight should happen. So they can take away all the farm here. Red buff actually wasn't cleared after Diamond picked it up. So it's not gonna... Nobody has the timer yet before Alliance actually spot it and can clear it out and get the timer without Gambit actually knowing it.
Get their timer down.
It's 2v1 mid again.
Or just ignore it, which is what they actually did, going straight up towards that top lane. But yes, indeed, 2v1 it remains as Darien, going low earlier from Froggen, came back into this lane and needs to be a little bit careful because Froggen's not a guy that's going to miss his combo.
And last time they used this comp here again. It was against Copenhagen Wolves. They put a lot of effort into trying to deny CS from Kauton in the mid lane. This time with Froggen though, they're actually going aggressive towards him. Diamond joining in as well.
Gonna get slowed. Spear will land as well. Have they got enough damage? That's a good stun coming out. Froggen actually will flash away. Nyph having to flash his way towards his turret as well. Now Nick being hooked in there. A little bit of a chaotic exchange there as Froggen flashed out in one direction. Nyph went back towards his turret. Gambit unable to lock either of them down.
And now Tabzz on this top lane here. He can freeze this lane pretty much forever if he wants to and just pick up all the farm. As long as Alliance makes sure nobody from Gambit move up to stop him, he's gonna become very, very strong. And now that's actually why they're staying around this mid lane here. Trying to get gunned down. He's stunned.
He's dead. He's dead. Or is he? Flash comes in. He is dead. Froggen following through from it. Feel like I've cursed a couple of people already saying that he's dead without a shadow of a doubt. Flash away, goes down anyway, and again, you have to think about Shook waiting for the flash to come in before he followed his Q through, able to pick up a kill back.
So we see actually Darien, as soon as he respawned, just teleport top lane to push the wave into the tower.
He's gonna die again.
Oh, Darien, you're in big, big trouble.
Well,
maybe?
Maybe not.
Yeah, he is.
Where's he going? Where are you going to go, Darien? You're going to get hooked in. There are 4 men around for Alliance, and that's a freebie kill. It goes over to the AD carry, goes over to Cogmore, a champion which we know stronger and stronger as the game goes on. Definitely helped by picking up 3 kills.
Same goes for Nyph in the mid lane, of course. Got the first blow onto Froggen. Managed to land the Q without wall, of course. He doesn't skill it before level 8 or something. Later on, he actually always goes full damage early, and at the same time, there was no slows or anything. Just straight up Q onto Darien, picked up the first kill, got the flash as well. So for now, things are looking good for Alliance. Things not looking too good for Darien, who by the way went 0-7 last time he played KL top. Still won the game.
And that's the point.
Yes, that is the point. Darien can win games with giving up a lot of kills.
We've seen that, well, probably lost count of how many times we've seen that coming out of Darien. However, when that does happen, it's usually him giving up a kill, chased by 3 or 4 men, and Gambit then using that, you know, mass miss, I guess we can say, of Alliance being pushing to get the kill onto Darien.
Level
Take
6
objectives. Yeah, level 6 versus level 3. There's the slow coming in. Tabzz is going to do a hell of a lot of damage here. Will he have enough to actually finish off? Not quite, but again, Darien locked out of experience and farm range. He's going to get nothing again.
At least though, Gambit has managed to actually deny a lot of farm from Wickd because he's been running around with Shook trying to set up the kills at Diamond. Almost stealing the red buff here. Wickd down his bottom lane against also, of course, the level 6 Genja. Trying to get some farm, taking a lot of poke for it.
Yeah, still needs to be somewhat wary of that one. As we said before, Genja really the one, if you look towards the statistical side of things, that's been holding Gambit up there, that's been doing very, very well for them on the stat side of things, and we'll see if he can continue that here today. A little bit behind on the CS, and that kill as well for Tabzz is certainly going to be a bit of a problem for them. And now look at this, Nyph coming up towards his top lane. Darien is still level 4. Tabzz just going to let all of this farm scrape away, and now they're going to take the turret, and Darien may just go down for this one. He's going to speed himself up, gets a slow, but will get he's out of hook range. That may be enough for him to actually escape from this one. Will Froggen come up? Darien's going to actually turn things around, try and fool the rest of Alliance here. Nyph doesn't have a flash available, so there's no flash play, flash hook available for him. And calm and collected by Darien. He runs in, runs out, manages to get away.
Juking around a little bit here, no mana onto Tabzz, and of course the hook was on cooldown from Nyph, couldn't even fly onto him, therefore he couldn't pick up the kill. Cool play by Darien, of course. The tower did go down, but he managed to pick up some farm at least, and keeping fairly even with Wickd so far.
We were for Froggen. We wondered whether Gambit were going to try and challenge for that, try and keep Nivea a little bit pegged back when it comes to spamming those spells, leaving the ultimate down to farm in that mid lane. Doesn't happen for them this time around. However, Gambit doing some good damage, some good work on this bottom side of the map. Genja has actually got himself a CS lead now, as Diamond moves towards the Dragon. In fact, Gambit are in perfect position here to take the Dragon as well.
Yeah, so Froggen was actually out of mana in this mid lane here, so they knew he was going to recall, and therefore they just go straight down, start the Dragon. Great use of the fact he knew he was going to recall, and Darien died on top.
Yes, Darien went down, but this is okay. We can now finally refer to that whole thing before. When Darien dies, he pulls people away so that Gambit can get objectives. This time they get themselves a Dragon. Darien dies, unfortunately, pretty much 1v1, I think he was there in that top lane. Gonna take a look at it again. It was 1v1. He's not level 6, so no intervention.
No flash, no ulti. Wickd just jumps straight onto him. Actually has a flash to pick up the kill, but still deny Darien even more CS, and now Wickd can just farm some of it up here. Darien, however, did actually get double Dorns, and now attack speed boots as well, so should be able to at least farm as long as Wickd won't jump.
A lot of damage coming onto Nick. Froggen getting to that point where it's a little bit of a problem for them. Blue buff on allows him to spam a lot more onto the farm and also onto Nick if he's unlucky enough to be in that position. Is, however, still in the lead here, Nick. And
oh, nice.
Wow. Big spear coming through. Nick, I said it right at the start, that initial spear that he got in to give him some confidence maybe. He's done really well to land the spears. The one that got them first blood as well was a great long range one to help things out. So doing well on that front, ahead slightly in the farm. Also just want to comment on the fact that Darien is 0-3, but he's not even behind in CS. In fact, he's ahead in CS compared to Wickd.
We talked about the matchup, however, how Kale can actually do well against Shyvana as long as she's not too far behind in XP like we saw before, where Wickd was level 6, Shyvana wasn't. Kale wasn't level 6. Alliance though, pushing onto this mid tower here, will be able to pick it up. Eduard joining in with the team, not level 6 himself, and therefore won't be able to do much.
Just a faster reaction there from Alliance. Group up faster than Gambit.
Well, using the pressure. I mean, we knew Genja was down his bottom lane, had the big wave, he can just take down the tower. So Alliance, instead of trying to move down and defend that already dead tower, just go straight to the mid lane and knew Gambit would be enough people to defend it. So just smart play, but also, of course, Gambit picks up the tower in his bottom lane and keeping very even goal.
Darien in this top lane, as you said, causing a couple of little issues now for Wickd, now that he's finally up to level 6, feeling a little bit more confident with himself. So Tabzz and Genja are going to have a bit of a battle here over that big golem. Who's going to take it? It's Tabzz, calmly done there. Genja not able to get in there and steal that one away. However, Genja does have still a 10 CS lead, which will be pretty much nullified with that big wave that's on the bottom lane now for Tabzz.
Now Darien needs to be careful of in his top lane here. Once again, of course, ulti is ready for Wickd. He built a Cutlass now, so he can even slow him down and just jump towards Darien here. So like the build from Wickd, going aggressive early on, knowing he has the advantage, want to push it, get even more kills, or deny even more CS from Darien. Who of course has teleport ready, so he can just stay, see if Gambit can set something up here, and then he can teleport in.
You can see that actually both top and bottom lane have been frozen by Alliance there, so that could be a bit of a problem in the long run. Gambit, of course, pushing that one all the way up, and not really much to farm there for Genja. He's moved around towards this mid lane, but with Anivia's mega wave clear, it's going to be hard to kill out that turret, however many men they stack up.
For now though, Darien, or Diamond actually staying at the Wolf camp here from Alliance, so if they push up once again and feel like there's not enough members from Alliance to defend him, I try and go for a dive. I mean, there is ulti onto Eduard here, he can flash in, lock Froggen down, and then the rest of the team can just pile onto him. It's a bit risky though, so wise enough to back away here and just go back to farming and Genja down this bottom lane. Darien, of course, in the top lane, trying to catch up.
There's Eduard, the man who holds the sole kill for Gambit right now. Picked it up in the very early stages of the game onto Shook, but since then it's been all about Alliance when it comes to the kills. 1 kill for Wickd, 1 for Froggen, and also 1 for Tabzz. The 3 men that you're going to be wanting to scale as fast as possible going in towards the later stages of this game. Lumafia will be gifted over to Nick. Quick Spear will give him that. He's still holding a very slim lead, but a lead nonetheless as Wickd going to get aggressive here. Is he going to be able to take down Darien? There is the ulti coming in. Intervention was used by Darien. We do have Froggen coming up towards his top lane as well, and Darien now is going to be trying to run away from things. The decision is, well, what is the decision? Where to go? How long are you going to prolong your life in this scenario? Actually, Wickd is going to move in. Who's going to get the kill? It will be Froggen with the final auto attack. Let's see what Gambit do with this now. 3 men in mid.
They're pushing up the mid lane here. The minions, however, are not even close to the tower. Genja decided actually just back away from it. Gambit knew they weren't in a position to push it down fast enough. But Darien, once again, he buys a lot of time for the team to move around. This time the Alliance had already pushed out the wave in the mid lane, and therefore nothing could happen for it.
Not the ideal start for Gambit. 2-0-0 Froggen. He asked the question of, is the Anivia ban-worthy? And you'd think if any team in the world knows how to play against Froggen's Anivia, it probably would be Gambit by now. So many games that Anivia has, well, beat them, I think we can safely say. Choosing to leave it open and maybe gonna pay the price. We'll have to see. Still a long way to go in this game. We're only 15 minutes in. However, there is already a solid 1,300 gold lead for Alliance.
And we did see Gambit try to 2v1 mid early on. Now, wait a minute, to see Diamond here. Nope, backs away. Edward was spotted by Ward. But we saw early on from Gambit, tried to do the 2v1 mid to deny some farm from Froggen. And Nick is slightly ahead. However, due to Darien giving up the kill as well, it actually didn't work for them at all and just meant he fell even further behind. This is the reason why 2v1 mid is a very, very risky tactic. Didn't work for them this time, worked against Copenhagen Wolves.
Let's have a look here. Alliance all grouping up in that mid lane. Dragon actually coming live, so they're going to be backing away from it. Diamond is already on the backside of the team. Actually, he's going to be spotted. Pops his ultimate on the team and actually may get followed through. And there's the kick coming in. Diamond down to less than half HP. Darien coming around the side as well. Targeting not exactly focused here from Alliance, but they're going to go, I think, for Darien, who tried to get back away through that tri-bush. Did manage to stay alive as well as another spear lands onto Wickd. They're going to start off the Dragon. Still risky, or is it? Shook's actually backing away.
Shook is backing away here. Gambit should be able to pick up this Dragon here unless Froggen can steal it with a Q over the wall. Oh, that was actually pretty close.
That was very, very close. Saw the health bar just shrinking to the point where Froggen may have been able to get that one. However, it's Gambit that get it. Second of the game goes to them, so holding on to that, you know, once famous, I think we can say, Gambit Dragon control.
Yeah, we saw the fight itself here, or what was supposed to be a fight, was actually Alliance first, moving into the river, and then Diamond was in a good position, flanked around them, got the ulti off them, had to then run away, because Froggen actually put a very nice wall in their entrance towards the river, where the rest of Gambit were trying to run in and help. So Eduard had to flash the wall, use his ulti, nobody was there to follow up. Darien TP'd behind the line as well, so it was a very messy fight from everyone pretty much, and therefore Alliance managed to get out of it. Still lost the Dragon because Gambit got a lot of damage onto Shook, so good play by Gambit.
Speaking of Alliance, they're going in for this red buff again. Let's not forget, it was taken by Gambit at level 1, but you can see a lot of damage put down, and Shook this time will be able to steal that one away. See if he can keep control of his own red buff here. What Diamond is exactly going to be trying to do. The pink ward goes down, that'll give him a bit more vision control. However, there was a ward inside of the red buff pit itself, so timer will be there for Alliance as Shook. A rarely missed Q there coming out.
Nyph is here as well though. Only 2 members that can't really set anything up. Froggen was farming the mid lane and Nick now returned to it. So both teams kind of resetting everything, moving back to farming. Tabzz actually moved up in his top lane here, just looking for as much farm as possible. He's slightly ahead of Genja, very small amount however. Genja is actually forced to do the wolf camp because the bottom lane is pushed all the way up to Alliance and he's far away from the top side.
Let's have a look down some items here. See that Darien actually changed up his build this time around. You mentioned earlier, Athene's Unholy Grail is what he went for in the game against the Copenhagen Wolves, where he played that top lane Kayle, or we couldn't really call it a top lane Kayle for most of the game since he spent a lot of it sat in the mid lane with Nyph, but he's changing up, going more of a traditional build with the Kayle, let's say now.
And I like the fact he's not going to delay getting the Nashus and the Hurricane. It is Darien, he can swap it up. But normally you would go Nashus into Hurricane here and just be very strong already in the mid-game team fights with all the attack damage. And it's what we talked about with the Sona pick here, where I think Gambit is just aiming to try and lock down 1 or 2 members and let Darien have some time to just auto-tag onto them, do AoE damage and try and kill or get as many people low as possible. Genja though, he's getting killed.
Oh, coming in, are they going to be able to follow through? A lot of damage, but Genja used an early flash to get away from that. Diamond was the man in the end that picked himself up the blue buff with the help of his smite, so despite that challenge from Alliance, Gambit able to hold on to their buff, and let's not forget he lost his red buff on its last spawning as well. That could have been both buffs stolen away by Alliance.
So none of the mid laners with blue buff, for now at least. Both of them, they just keep farming away. Nick keeps his CS lead actually, small 20 CS lead here. They're keeping up for pretty much 10-15 minutes now actually, or 10 minutes, sorry. They're doing a very good job farming. And now I like this. Gambit are going for the blue buff of Alliance here. Make sure Froggen won't get it, so he can just sit in the mid lane and wave there again and again and again. So very good move by Gambit.
Yeah, that was the question that we had earlier on. Number one, do they let Anivia through? And if they do, which they did, how are you going to stop Froggen getting out of control? He's currently, well, he doesn't really get much more even than the goal between the two mid laners at this point. Both hovering at 6,600 odd. This bottom lane is going to be pressured and will be taken down here. Nothing that the bottom lane of Gambit can do, especially with Shook's presence. It's the third tower of the game for Alliance.
So again, looking just at the team comps here, we haven't actually had a big team fight yet. But I'm trying to see how Gambit wants to engage the fights here. Of course, flash ulti from Eduard would be the go-to thing. Or Diamond, of course, flanking around with his ulti. And then try and surprise Alliance, log a few members down, and then do all their re-damage. However, if Alliance has some good vision control, if they spot Diamond moving towards them, it's going to be very hard for them to flank around. So they need the flash from Eduard, or at least need Eduard to land a very good ulti to actually start the fight. Where Alliance can just more rely on Wickd jumping in, Shook jumping in, a hook landing from Nyph, a Q or a wall from Froggen. Everything is skill shot based, but there's more options from Alliance to start fights.
We've just seen there that Darien with his Nash's Tooth complete, giving Wickd a little bit more of a hard time in this top lane. He has got himself up to level 11, Wickd at level 12, and actually Darien still holding a minute CS lead, but it's showing that he's been able to, since he's had a bit of free time, let's call it, where he's not had so much pressure on him, doing a good job of keeping up in the farm and clawing the level difference from earlier on back in this game.
And in general, I mean, Gambit as a team have just done a good job keeping up in the goal because they focus on the dragons. Focus a lot on farm on both Nick and Genja down this bottom lane as well. Both teams are basically just waiting for the big team fights to actually break out. That's why they're happy enough farming away. We don't see too many aggressive plays except for Gambit moving in, take away the blue buff instantly from Froggen, go back to the mid lane here. And both teams just going back to farming.
Back into the farm, and Dragon is surely the next big thing to come up in this game. Already a few wards down by Gambit, one of which will be cleared out thanks to the scan out of Froggen. 3 sweeping lenses for both teams actually. In the same positions as well, but that's where, you know, Nidalee really comes into her own as well. If you can hold off the Dragon attempt by Alliance, manage to chip away with a couple of good spears, then you all of a sudden find yourself pretty much with a well-earned and almost free Dragon. That's what happened last time around. Shook went far too low, and he had to recall from it, so there was no challenge on that last Dragon by Alliance. This time again, Diamond is already in position.
Actually already starting the Dragon from Alliance. Instantly as they move in to clear the ward, they just started. Both top laners are running down towards the Dragon. They might have to teleport, and there's the wall on Connect.
There is the wall. Eduard going to be locked up against the wall itself. Dragon actually was pulled away from here by Alliance. Is that going to allow them in? Wickd has teleport available. Already seen Darien teleport in. Here we go. Q has landed. Can he get in there? Yes, he does. Shook manages to steal the dragon. Now they're going on towards Darien. There's a crescendo use at the back. Wickd will use his ulti to get away. And again, a messy affair where Darien goes low. Big spear comes out. They're going to go for Nyph here. This is bad news for him as the Flay only lands onto one. There's no tower there, of course. And that is going to be a dead Nyph. It's Nick that picks up the kill. And Tabzz, he's running into no man's land here. One hit onto him there. That pretty much says that he cannot execute himself. Actually, he might be able to turn around and have a go at Genja. He's going to leave it for Nick to come in. Tabzz actually running away from this one. Spear lands instead.
Kill on to Nick here. So Alliance, they managed to pick the dragon, but they lose the team, but they were split up at first. And Wickd teleported in with about 50% HP, so he had to ult away from the fight as soon as he joined in. As soon as the ulti from Eduard was gone, onto him, like the storm was gone, he had to jump away, couldn't actually even be in the fight here. So Alliance, even though they got the dragon, lost the 2 members here. Very good team fight by Gambit, a bit of a messy affair from Alliance side.
Look down what Wickid's picked up here as well. Boots of Swiftness, going to help with the annoyance of the slow coming out of Darien there. See how that all works out for him. The CS is still pretty much bang even between the two. A very close matchup on that one. Aside from the fact, if you look at the kills and assists there, a little bit more one-sided. A kill and 3 assists for Wickid and 4 deaths only to the name of Darien. Here's Wickid once again, actually going to use his ultimate and get in there on Darien. I think with those boots of swiftness, he's actually feeling very, very confident about being able to finish this one off. There was a flash used, though, by Darien to get back off to safety of that top lane.
Yeah, forcing away the flash, we see him use the Blade of the Ruined King, which he built very early on to simply just get onto Darien here, and every time Darien uses the Q to farm, Wickid can jump onto him and stick to him here. Gambit though, pushing out his mid lane. Froggen is still far away. Nyph joining in. Misses the hook. Should be a tower for Gambit. Never mind.
Kind of
they could have taken the tower.
Kind of almost was, and I think they will.
And there it is.
Gonna go in and just tank up that last hit on it. Really didn't need much damage to actually get finished off. And look at this, Froggen going for the blue buff. Diamond's actually got vision of it. But decides not to go for that one. So Froggen this time around does get his blue buff. Last one, of course, was secured by Gambit, was stolen away.
And I wonder what Darien is building towards. Didn't actually go for Hurricane, a second item instead. Blasting one here could be towards maybe a death cap and then use the mana crystal towards a Sheen. We'll see.
I see the goal difference between the mid laners here and the swing of how it's gone there from 5 to 15 minutes basically, with Froggen having a real good time of it. But Nick slowly but surely clawing his way back up on this one.
Early towers for Alliance, and then of course the kill on to Froggen gave him the gold spike early, but then Nick and Gambit itself actually, just because they take dragons, because they're farming pretty well, catching up and keeping it very close. Actually 500 gold ahead.
Really not much difference in this one. Let's have a look down some items again as both teams doing somewhat of a face-off in mid, and I want to look at the mid laners while we're on that topic, because they've got pretty much the identical build. Both with the themes, both with the death cap, both got sorcerer's shoes now done as well. What is the next plan here out of Alliance? Again, revisiting that top side of the Gambit jungle that they've done so successfully up until now, managing to steal away or at least challenge for a good few of those red buff spawns. However, Gambit not going to be lured into the jungle. They know that Alliance have vision control of it.
So far in this game, Gambit has actually been team fighting very, very smart, because they always split up, come from multiple sides, so it's very hard for Froggen with his wall or just with his ulti to actually kite and protect the likes of Tabzz here, because Gambit just comes from from different sides and allows them chase. If someone goes top lane, someone goes down towards the bottom lane, trying to get a kill here, and Gambit just, in the end, get a lot of poke onto them, and then once they get too low, Gambit can then turn around, go in for the kills here. And Nick, on his Nidalee so far, has really been doing work.
It's at a 2-0-1. Getting to that point where he really hurts. However, Tabzz is also at that point. Trinity Force and the Blade of the Ruined King for Tabzz. Not someone that you really wanted to be getting into a 1-versus-1 scenario against here, as Froggen trying to catch out Genja. Gets a bit of damage off, but he's got a Bloodthirster. He'll heal that all back up as Diamond going in here. This could be bad for him, actually. Tabzz doing a lot of damage. Intervention is available. Will be used last second, but Shook's already there. There comes the heal. The double heals as well. Triple heals even because of Sona in there. Something that we forgot to mention in this one. That's a lot of heal from this team.
Yeah, a lot of heals here that we managed to get away, but still, he's actually staying around. Wanna join in. There's no ulti on Diamond, of course, which used before, and wall once again for Froggen.
Wall in the back, and Managing to get a good combo off. They've got the poke out of Tabzz as well. Massive range that one's got. We'll see how Gambit can hold on to these turrets, because that's a problem for him, as we see the drive-by from Shook coming in. But again, it's Diamond that actually comes out on top of that, gets himself the red buff.
Second time he managed to smite it away from Alliance. Well, first was, of course, the blue buff, now the red buff here. Making sure he keeps the buffs on his side. Now he's going aggressive once again.
And the hook coming out just a little bit too wide, as Genja pretty much all on his own there in that mid lane. Manages to scare 3 men from Alliance away from it completely. If we look at the mini-map here, we see that Tabzz going to be pushing the top lane. Wickd down on the bottom side of the map as well. Both of those top laners do have teleport available. They need to deal with Tabzz quickly here. They've actually got Genja coming up through the jungle. Diamond will be coming through lane, but they're going to lose half the health on this turret. They may even lose a little bit more, as Nyph going to be caught out in the jungle. They managed to get the hook onto Genja, and Froggen blows him up from the side. Turret surely going to die as well. There's the kick onto Diamond. Not sure that he will escape. Good crescendo comes in.
He's going to die.
Is he going to go down? Yes, he does. See, Ignite from Eduard that gets a kill back for Gambit.
Nick is here. Fight is not over yet. Eduard chasing with him. Diamond backing away, so only 3 members from Gambit chasing on here.
And there is the Banshee's Veil. Finally pops. Spear comes through. It lands onto Froggen. Ward goes down to say, okay, we need the vision of Nick to see where those spears are actually going to be thrown from. In the end, it goes with that 2-for-1, and very, very interesting fight there. And if we look down Gambit again, their items becoming stronger and stronger this entire time. Darien actually got himself the Sheen and a blasting one now.
And they just managed to turn every situation, for now at least, in their favor. I mean, Genja hooked first by Nyph and then instantly just went down to Froggen, but still up in the top lane here. Good crescendo from Eduard, killed Shook as well, and then continued to chase on there. Killed Nyph, and while they lost the tower, still picked up 2 kills here. Now they're going for the dragon.
Going in for the dragon, he's already down to half HP. Last one was stolen away by Shook, but I'm not sure he's quick enough this time. He's got a lot of ground to make up, and there is the steal. A little bit of a dodgy smite from that, but they managed to hook in Eduard. There's a last-second intervention. Froggen actually throwing the damage through, but wasn't enough to get him the kill. There's Tabzz flashing in as well. Darien instantly flashing out of danger. It's a good pickup for Gambit.
And once again, they get the dragon, get out safely here, make sure they don't give any kills over to Alliance. And there's only been 10 kills in the game so far, but still so much action back and forth, dragon fights every time, or small fights, trying to set up fights, but none of the teams are real hard engaged. You haven't been able to just start a fight straight up and destroy the other team.
Getting himself a little bit more farm. That static shiv was collected after his bloodthirst. Was Tabzz here. I was going to say in no man's land, but with that lantern, all of a sudden you're almost half the map away again. Froggen will get another blue buff, so things been a little bit more reset of this one. We've got Wickd down the bottom. Tabzz will be collecting his red buff. Added a pickaxe longsword, so Last Whistler going to be coming up here shortly for Tabzz as well.
And on the side of Gambit, Darien actually went for second item Lichbane, which is perfectly fine here on Kale. Doesn't want to go for the Hurricanes build, it seems. Death Cap or a Void Staff should be the next item for him, and he's going to start to do a lot of burst damage now. Talk about the difference when there's a lot of CC on the side of the other team. It's a bit risky to run the attack speed build, and now this time around, because of the Nivea stuff, because of course the hook from Nyph here, doesn't want to risk not getting any damage off in the fight, so he's going to build more burst focused.
That's the danger for them as well, when Darien really starts to build things up. That's a lot of damage they've got coming through. Of course, Shyvana going to be getting tankier. Banshee's Veil was picked up earlier on by Wickd here.
And of course also the AP build instead of Hurricane is really going to help the team when you look at the heals. Yeah. It's going to make the heal even better. Nick with the heal as well, going to of course build a lot of AP, so it's going to be even stronger. You see Eduard with the heal too, so there's so much sustain on the side of Gambit. It really makes a lot of sense for Darien to not go Hurricane.
We've just seen Darien and Wickd spotting each other, but nothing really happening. Wickd very, very tanky at this point, as I said, with the Warden's Mail and that Banshee's Veil from earlier on. Now Alliance moving up towards the Baron area, getting a few wards down, clearing out what was left of Gambit's ward placement from a little bit earlier on, and you can see that Genja on the top side, wondering whether Alliance are actually going to go for that, as Wickd doing a good job here of keeping Darien pegged back.
Always trying to get some damage onto him. maybe force an ulti, force a flash or something to keep Darien down in case a fight should break out. Alliance though, with Anivia, can actually set up Baron, can set up Dragon here, use the wall to block out Gambit when they move in and try and stop it. So they have definitely potential to bait out certain objectives and therefore force team fights. But I'm not sure if they feel strong enough to do that at this point because Gambit has been team fighting so well.
A little bit scared maybe of overextending. Eduard going to get caught out, actually dodging the stun there, and I think going to be able to get away from that one. The ultimate of Tabzz was pushing through onto them, but he manages to survive. Diamond actually off to the side here as well. I think he was spotted from the wards coming around there earlier, but Gambit look to be pushing back, and it's going to be hard to hold on to these turrets if Nick holds or lands a spear or two.
Yeah, and Froggen just looking for the pick with the wall here. We just saw it onto Eduard. Stun just missed. Had it hit, he would have died, and he could have pushed up again or even gone down towards the Baron side. So just looking for this wall pick here, and the rest of the team getting blast onto it. Meanwhile, everyone actually joined around this mid lane side, even the two top laners who were split pushing before.
Good culling as well coming out on towards Froggen, dropping him down to just above half HP. And spears are going to be a problem in these tight areas. Hook comes through, but that didn't quite land onto them. And Gambit here have got positional advantage. They push down this mid lane. Question is, do they keep pushing? Or do they try and engage on Alliance in a dangerous position? Fighting inside that jungle is going to be a problem as Wickd going to dive right in. That's a 4-man crescendo, but have they got the follow-up? They've taken the turret. Nyph off to the side will manage to land the hook onto one, and I don't think Alliance really want to fight this one. Gambit got the turret, and they've now got even better positioning to go for the Indian tower.
Only one minion, however, so Genja is actually tanking in tower here. No hold on to it, but of course no hold on to Diamond. Therefore they can take down a back away here. Very smart play. Froggen staying around. They want something.
Oh, Wall will actually split a couple of them up. Puts his ultimate down. Tabzz doing a lot of damage as well. One more hit. Oh, wow. Finish off Diamond. The last second intervention coming out. Saved so many people already during this game, and Alliance are able to bash them away. However, Inhibitor is now open for taking.
And that was such a smart move by Gambit. They know, of course, Froggen can bait them into this Baron here, put up the wall. We just talked about it before, so they're like, we're not even going to move in towards it. We're just going to push down the mid lane, fight a little bit more in the open, and then also we knew, or of course Gambit knew, once Alliance would move down towards the tower, there'd just be this small entrance into the mid lane, and when you have crescendo, we saw it would just wait with it. Multiple members from Alliance try to move in the mid lane, stun all of them, take tower, and pretty much take the next tower as well, and just back away because Alliance couldn't get to them.
35 minutes into this, it's a very high farm game. If you look down some of the totals here, over 300 CS for both mid laners, for both AD carries as well, and the difference between them on most fronts is pretty negligible. Diamond and the rest of Gambit holding a 3,500 gold lead over that of Alliance. The hook's gonna land, but the spear will follow through, and Nyph instantly knocked down to half HP. And again, Gambit are in the mid lane. However, they are missing their AD carry and their top laner. Both of them do have teleport though, Wickd and Darien, so they could be called into action any second.
But now it's Gambit taking control of the Baron, getting in here, clearing away all the Alliance wards, putting in their own here now. Maybe want to try and put a bit of pressure around, force Alliance to face shake onto them, onto Eduard, who just stunned multiple of them, onto a spear, of course, from Nick, who's really been landing them left and right.
He can keep doing that as well. As going to chase him for this one. Darien getting right up at the front here, doing a good amount of damage, but they need to start things off. A hook from Nyph from the side. Not enough, but they've spotted that Nyph was there with that hook coming out from the brush. Not able to get onto him though. He speeds away with those mobility boots. However, Dragon is up now. Gambit have controlled it thoroughly throughout the game, despite that one steal that Alliance managed to do. They won't do it this time. It's another one going over towards Gambit. Puts them nicely in the lead. 5,000 gold is the total.
Only lost one Dragon where Sugar actually managed to smite it away, but then Gambit just turned around and won the team fight instead. So for them, full control of the Dragon has really been paying off. Far ahead now, 6 or 4. About 5,000 gold ahead in gold, and also with all the pressure now towards this mid lane.
Colin coming through wasn't exactly massive. Did manage to get Froggen a little bit low, but shouldn't be too much of a worry for him. Gambit push Alliance back once again, and despite that great start from Alliance, you have to give credit here to Gambit. Thorough control over the Dragon, kept him in the game at the stage where it looked like Alliance could start running away with it, but that Dragon goal really really, really helping them out. And now they're the team with that 5,000 gold lead.
And then they've just been team fighting really well against this comp from Alliance, always splitting up, coming from multiple sides. We already talked about how well they actually played him, and they never let Froggen get in a position where he can wall multiple members. Always just push down the lanes instead. Don't want to move into the jungle and try and fight against Froggen.
Move up again towards the Baron from Gambit. Weren't able to get any further push on that mid lane, and there is Wickd actually catching out Darien with his Blade of the Ruined King. Will he push through? No. Top turret actually went down there to minions from Gambit's side, so it's a bit of extra gold in their pocket, up 5-4 on the turret count at this point, and that adds another 1,000 gold to their lead. 6k now. Strong lead for Gambit, but it could all change very, very quickly. The wall comes down, the hook and the stun not able to follow up though.
Wickd in the top lane. Teleport is ready for him so he can join in with the team, and he's basically just going to go up, try and pick a bit of farm here. Even though Darien was so far behind early on, he's really been doing a very good job with getting the farm he needs, get towards the items he wants. Deathcap should be able to, or should be very close at least. Yeah, he has 1,300 gold, so he can actually go back to base, pick up the Deathcap if he wants
to. Massive burst could become a problem. Or maybe even just the heals and the intervention are going to be a problem enough for Alliance to deal with in this game. We've already seen him saving a couple of lives with those last second interventions.
Ooh.
Nick there, gonna recall almost being cancelled out. That, if Wickd have got in range there with that burnout running, that could have actually been the death of Nick, and now he needs to run straight down that mid lane. They're gonna need to get Darien involved as well. However, he's clearing out that bottom lane, does have teleport available.
There was no wards just behind the lines though for him to teleport onto. Therefore Diamond also backs away from here. Was actually in a good position to flank around. Didn't decide to go for it, and Nyph recalling this push here. No vision, of course. Nope. No.
Not quite able to stop him going through as Genja gonna be all alone. Actually gonna throw down a really strong culling again onto Froggen to bring him at half HP, but I don't think Gambit really have much to push with at this point. Yes, they could move on to the steps, but already Alliance has started to get into positions where they could encircle them, and in the end, Gambit push it down, but will back away for fear of being caught.
So it's been the issue for both teams, the lack of hard engage to actually start whatever fight they want to start. Gambit, again, they need the flash ulti from Eduard, or they need someone like Diamond to flank around the lines, slow multiple members, and then follow up with it. They haven't been able to do it, therefore Alliance for now just holding off. And at the same time, Alliance are just waiting for a wall Q combo from Froggen or a hook or a shook to go in and kick someone back, and it's not been working for them. So both teams basically just been focusing more on objectives and farm instead of team fighting with each other, except for Wickd now.
Man, Wickd actually caught all on his own as the hook goes through, doesn't actually connect onto anyone. Shook was trying to get in there for the kick, in fact use it, but he's going to be blasted away. Genja with the culling will pick up that kill. Nick gone a little bit too far here, all on his own, and that's a lot of damage. The hook will land, but Nyph gets exploded, and now there are only two men left alive. Diamond going to chase you on towards Tabzz. He uses the Blade of the Ruined King. Can they actually lock him up from this one?
Go for the base.
Doesn't really matter, they can go straight into the base. The inhibitor is open. They've got minions streaming in there with them as well.
Ulti's gonna be ready for Darien very soon in case they want to just straight up tank the towers here.
They do.
Only two members from Alliance to try and finish, to try and defend. They can't do it.
They want to hold on to this one as
they're gonna win it.
Gonna run out from that one. The first Nexus turret already going down. Tanking up the damage from it is Diamond at this point, but both Nexus turrets gonna go down. They get the kill on Tabzz as well. Wickd gets off to the fountain, but it's not gonna be enough to save the game from them. Gambit push things home, and they wreck Alliance's record. We said it before, Gambit, the record wreckers of this year.
If there's one team in Europe which you can never predict, it is Gambit here. Such a strong performance all around. We talk about, oh my god, Ilyas left open once again. Can they deal with it? Show perfect team fights around it. And in the very end here, when Alliance actually tried to engage, Gambit were just so far ahead and so much stronger. Won the fight, won the game.
Absolutely brilliant performance from Gambit. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, the spoil sport, whatever you want to call it from this one, but we said it before, we never know which Gambit's going to turn up.
Yeah.
This was possibly the best looking Gambit that we've seen so far this split?
Look, very, very calming game. Some good decisions. Always focus on Dragon, like we know from Gambit, of course. Picked up multiple Dragons. Got the gold lead as well. And this even after such a bad start where your top lane just dies again and again and again. It doesn't matter because the rest of the team, they take it easy, they farm up, they do well, and then once you get to team fights, you get to Dragons. Gambit were just the better team.
Absolutely brilliant performance by them. We said it earlier of Millennium though, we have to pose that question again. Can they actually keep it solid? Can they keep, can they win 2 games in a week? We don't know, because we just literally don't know which Gambit turns up. It could well be that they come tomorrow and they get absolutely destroyed, but focus on the positives here. The fact is that Gambit just gave what we thought, or probably we can say what is the strongest team in Europe right now, managed to beat them at their own game.
Managed to beat them. A lot of comfort picks all around for Alliance here. Tabzz, of course, at his Cockmore again. We had Nyph for Froggen, Shyvana for Wickd. Everything was comfort picks for Alliance here, and yet they managed to actually win the game. Because again, they were just team fighting so smart, and they were actually avoiding a lot of fights as well, and just focused on taking towers, taking dragons. Okay, you're gonna line up for this Baron here. You want to bait us to walk into you, get walled and die. Nope, just gonna push down the mid lane, take 2 towers and back away. We don't even care about you and Nyph. We don't care about where you want to fight. And so Gambit were actually in control of the game for most of the time. And also they decided with this comp with a lot of heals, just even though a person was very low and about to die, they never just left him alone. They actually went in, ulti from Kayle, healed him back up and managed to survive, and therefore didn't give up any kills to Alliance.
See them just going from almost nothing to half HP in an instant. And one thing that's very, very impressive as well, we've got to say, is the fact that despite the start where Alliance almost looked to be running away with it, where Darien was 0 for 4 and seemingly getting caught out every time he pretty much left the base, if we're honest, in those first minutes, they held such a tight control on the Dragon to keep themselves even until they got to a point where they could say, okay, we can actually fight now, we are strong enough.
And they did the exact same thing against Fnatic, where they lost all the towers. I believe they were down 7-0 in towers to Fnatic, but they kept taking Dragon. Again and again, they kept the gold even, and then once you got to late game team fights, they were the better team, won the team fights and won the game. So for Gambit, as long as they can get to this late game point, get to the late game team fights, they really are still a world-class team.
Yeah, showing that synergy is definitely getting better on a
credit to Nick.
basis.
I mean, we talked in the game here about how he landed the very first spear onto Froggen, and he didn't stop. I mean, he just kept going for it. He was 4-0 and 4 in Italy here. Very strong performance.
Very, very well played by Gambit. We have Shox and Trevor standing by with Diamond, so let's send it over there.
Thank you very much, Joe. Indeed, joined by Diamond after that, a monumental win versus the first-placed Alliance. Tell me your first thoughts about after finishing that game out, because it must have been such an important moment for you guys as a team.
Yeah, that was an important match for us if we win it. That would prove us that we are still a good team and we can compete really well in this tournament. And we did it, so we're happy.
Yeah, congratulations, a very good win. I want to ask you to explain a little bit more about the Darien duo mid Kayle. It's a strategy you did against the Copenhagen Wolves. It's a strategy you did again today. We see other teams putting their top lane in with their jungler and stealing XP and stuff. Do you not like that, or do you think putting top lane mid in the first few minutes is more important?
Well, it depends on Darien's mood, I think. He sometimes goes with me, he sometimes goes and zones mid laner, enemy mid laner. And I don't know what he thinks about it, how does it work. Sometimes he did me, sometimes he did Nick, but it works.
Yeah, and it worked as well in this game again. Alliance was able to rack up some kills in that early game, but for you guys, it was all about the objectives again. Tell me a little bit about how Dragon still seems to be the best focus for Gambit, and you win games with it.
Yeah, Dragon is pretty much the most important object on the map, which you can get really easily. So we're trying to get as much of them as we can, while losing as less towers as we can at that same time. And Darien was doing a great job feeding top lane while we were doing dragons.
It's standard Darien feed to win strategy.
Yeah.
So in Gambit's priority, is getting control of Dragon much more important than taking towers? Because it was how you guys beat Fnatic as well. You got all of the dragons, you waited until late game where you had the items you needed. Why is it that pushing towers early is less important than getting dragons?
Because dragons are respawning and turrets are not respawning.
Another question up against Froggen's Nyph. You guys didn't plan to ban it out, and you guys are of course very familiar with that Froggen and Nyph in Gambit as a team. So why was it that you decided to leave it on the map, and how do you deal with it?
Well, we all knew about Froggen's Nyph, that he plays her really great, and we knew how to play against her, but the one thing was that Nick was playing the first time against Froggen and Nyph, so we were kind of afraid of it, but Nick said, give me Nidalee and I will carry you, and he pretty much did it.
Well, it's nice to see. It's good he delivered. I want to step back from the game and ask your opinion on the state of the jungle at the moment. Patch 4.9, Kha'Zix is less popular in the jungle. I don't think we're going to be seeing him. So other than Ilyas, Lee Sin, and Evelyn, as the pioneer jungler that invents all these new champions, when will we see one that's not those three?
When Riot will buff like Ancient Golem item, jungle item, or I don't know, or nerf Lizard or nerf Lee Sin, Evelyn and Ilyas or something like that. But we need to change something to bring new champions in the jungle. I'm
going to put you on the spot quickly. If they buff Ancient Golem, which champions become more viable because of that?
I think Amumu will be the first one, because he's really strong even right now, but he suffers in the early game when guys who built Lizard buys 2 blades for 10 attack damage and just beat him in jungle early. And then, I don't know, I don't remember actually, maybe Nautilus or stuff like that.
All right, very interesting. Well, thank you very much, Diamond. And Gambit does it again. They break the winning streak of Alliance this time around. We're halfway through with week 4, so let's check in with Joe and the Fisho to see what the table looks like.
Thank you very much, guys. And after today's 3 matches and factoring in the forfeit from the Copenhagen Wolves, here's where the teams are currently standing in the standings. Despite their loss to Gambit and due to SK's loss earlier, Alliance remain at the top of the table with 7 wins and 2 losses.
Yeah, and then we have a 3-way tie in third, where Fnatic, Millennium, and Super Hawker are all 5 and 4. And as the bottom of the table, bottom of the table note, yeah, I can't speak English either. Don't worry, Joe. Rocket, of course, they've moved even with the Copenhagen Wolves after the Wolves had to forfeit the game earlier today against them. And both teams now have 2 wins and 7 losses.
And of course, we have another day full of LCS coming your way tomorrow. Starting off with Rocket versus the Super Hot Crew, and then Gambit takes on Millennium.
After that, Fnatic will face Alliance, and the Copenhagen Wolves will then go up against SK Gaming. And once the LCS games conclude, the European Challenger Series semifinals resume with H2K Gaming in a best-of-3 versus Loplin Shaw.
And those matches will begin on Friday at 6 PM Central European Summer Time, which is 9 AM Pacific. But right now, it's time for the Challenger Series semi-finals as Alexei's Ninjas in Pajamas take on Ocelot's Gamers 2. So we'll hand things over to Freak and Zyrene.